I know. Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Welcome to the show, everybody. And I got to tell you, not only is creating the adventure of a lifetime, finding out what your purpose is and why you're really here, but some of us has spent a great deal of time learning our purpose and living them. And one of the greats that has walked our planet for a long time is with us today. And Bill Williams is with us. He is the internet humor specialist. He's been doing it since I was just a wee lad, and a long time ago, perhaps not that long ago, but he's had a wonderful life, and he's decided to take it back and really to help other people. If nothing else, find a little humor every day and in every moment. And if you sign up, and we're going to give you the information to do that, he'll send you a thought of the day. He does me. And it really is a cool thing that he's got out there doing. And so with that, I want to welcome Bill to the show. Bill, it's such a pleasure having you here, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a great pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, and you've been doing this for a little while. Tell us exactly what it is that you're doing and why you do it.
Well, let's go back to the 1990s. The internet was this new thing out there, and it had email, which was, it had some possibilities. And I was managing a group of sales folks in the Midwest, and they all had email because I gave it to them, but they never paid attention to it. So I needed to keep in touch. So I thought I'll send them something every day, something humorous, something inspirational to, have them read it. And they started reading it. It worked. And even better, they started sharing some of these humorous stories with their clients. And the client said, hey, could we get on the list too? Could we get those distributions? So sure. Yeah. Why? There's no postage. And lo and behold, that was in the 90s, about 30 years ago. And I'm still sending these things out Monday through Friday, every morning. People all over the US. I've got people in Europe. I've got people in Australia. I've got people in India that are getting these things. And anybody can get it. It's free. And hey, after looking at this whole batch of humorous stories in my computer, I decided maybe this would make a good book. So I took it to some publishers, and then one guy said, no, this would not be a good book. This would make a good series of books. And looking at my listings, I've probably got enough material for 10 or 12 volumes. Volume 1 is out now.
Congratulations. And did it knock you over a little bit when he said, I'm sure at first when he said, oh no, this isn't a good book, and you know, oh yeah, all right, and this is a bunch of good books. How did that make you feel?
That made me feel very good, because for about 2 years I'd been getting turned down by publishing agents right and left. No, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And then when somebody finally said, yeah, okay, let's go, I was, shall we say, delighted.
Well, and I can tell you that's that's one of those kind of books that you put on the back of your toilet, so that if you happen to be delayed there for a little while, you can read something that is humorous and funny. It might actually help keep you regular. I don't know, but
well, I have a great story. One of my thoughts on that was that this 5-year-old boy was, sitting on the toilet, and his mother thought he's been there a long time. And she went up to check on him, and he's sitting there reading a book, but every now and then he'd put the book down and hit himself on the head 3 or 4 times. And she said, Tommy, what are you doing? And he said, well, I just haven't been able to go yet. Well, why are you hitting yourself? It works for ketchup.
Oh, that is so fun. That is so funny. And was that somebody who emailed you and told you that story, or?
Right now, the vast majority of what I use are things that people have sent in. You know, in the first couple of years, I was doing most of it myself, but people said, "Hey, could you use this?" And now I've probably got about 500 stories that I haven't even used yet. So I just have to live long enough to use them. But I'm always welcoming more. I got a great one in yesterday.
Now, I got to ask you, because, one of the things that we do as people is we come up with this great idea that, oh, yes, this is going to be great. And I'm going to do this. And it's going to be famous. And I'm going to do all of these things. And then they do it for a month, 6 months. With podcasts, that's a thing these days. It's called podcast fade. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I
Where
have.
where people get excited about doing a podcast and they say, I'm going to be like the next Joe Rogan. And they start doing a podcast. They realize it ain't so easy to do a podcast, and there's editing, and you've got to get guests, and you've got all of this stuff. And so they quit after 10 or 15 episodes because they don't have a million people listening. What is it about you that kept you going for darn near 30 years now, and not giving it up and not saying, oh, I'm not world famous, or whatever motivates you? What is it that kept you going?
The simple fact that I enjoy it.
Wow.
I'm a writer. I enjoy editing, and I enjoy making people laugh. I enjoy sending things out for people to enjoy. And what really keeps me going is people sending in comments saying, "Hey, thanks. This was great." Today was Memorial Day, and I've gotten more responses today on my Memorial Day message than I have in a long time, and it makes me feel good.
Would you like to read that to us? Do you have it right there?
I can pull it up, but I can tell you the story. Okay.
Yeah, just relay the story, because this is, and we don't often say what day it is on the show because we want to keep it evergreen, but Memorial Day is a big day, and over 1 million soldiers over time have given their life for this country, and millions have been in the service and have been affected by it. And so I think that's an appropriate day for us to all be thinking in terms of that.
Well, yeah, and if you give me just a second, I can actually call it up. It's called Who Packed Your Parachute? Okay. And just a second here. Yeah.
Let me see.
Charlie Plum was a U.S. Navy pilot in Vietnam. After 75 combat missions, his plane was destroyed by a surface-to-air missile. Plum ejected and was parachuted into enemy hands. He was captured and spent 6 years in a communist Vietnamese prison. He survived the ordeal and went on to lecture on lessons that he learned from that experience. One day when Plum and his wife were sitting in a restaurant, a man at another table came over and said, "You're a Plum. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam from the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You were shot down." "How in the world did you know that?" asked Plum. "Well, I packed your parachute," the man replied. Plum gasped in surprise and gratitude. The man pumped his head and said, "I guess it worked." Plum assured him, "I'm sure it did. If your chute hadn't worked, I wouldn't be here today." Now, Plum couldn't sleep that night, thinking about that man. Plum said, "I kept wondering what he had looked like in a Navy uniform, a white hat, a bib on the back, bell-bottom trousers. I wonder how many times I might have seen him and not even said good morning, how are you, or anything. Because you see, I was a fighter pilot. He was just a sailor." Now Plum thought how many hours that sailor had spent on a long wooden table in the bowels of the ship, carefully weaving the shrouds and folding the silks of each chute, each time holding in his hands the fate of someone he didn't even know. Now Plum asks his audience, who's packing your parachute? Everyone has someone who provides something that they need to make it through the day. He also points out He needed many kinds of parachutes when his plane was shot down over enemy territory. He needed his physical parachute, his mental parachute, his emotional parachute, and his spiritual parachute. He called upon all of these supports before reaching safety. Sometime in the daily challenges that life gives us, we miss what is really important. We may fail to say hello, please, or thank you, or to congratulate someone on something that wonderful has happened to them, or just do something nice for someone for no reason. As you go through this week, this month, and this year, recognize the people who pack your parachutes. I'm sending this to you as my way of thanking you for your part in packing my parachute. I hope you'll send it on to someone who has helped pack yours. Sometimes you may wonder why friends keep forwarding jokes to you without writing a word. Well, maybe this can explain it. When you're busy, but still want to keep in touch, guess what you do? You forward jokes. And it lets the recipient know that they're still remembered. They're still important. They're still loved. They're still cared for. And guess what they get? A forwarded joke. So, my friend, the next time you get a joke, don't think that you've just been sent another forwarded joke, but that you've been thought of today, and your friend on the other end of your computer wanted to send you a smile. Maybe I'm just helping pack your parachute.
That is a great story and an incredible thing. I've been thinking while I'm sitting here in my little home that's in a 55 plus community, and there are a lot of older folks, but far older than you and I, by the way, that are living here, and their family is maybe not around, and they don't get a lot of emails, and they don't get a lot. I can only imagine that people that get into their computer and look at their email, when that email shows up, or the emails that you give out daily shows up, that becomes an important and favorable part of their lives because you're packing their parachute. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And that's sort of why I do it. You asked earlier, why do I do it? Why not? I enjoy helping people smile.
And smiling and humor and being kind to one another are, I think, the highest callings that we as human beings can have for each other. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but this can be kind of a hard life from time to time.
I have had some experience in that regard.
Well, I got to tell you, you wouldn't be normal. You wouldn't be human. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have those. I like to call it, when I go through a period like that, I call it my bad country music song period. Like my dad died and my dog died and my wife left and I lost my house and yada, 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 and all that kind of good stuff. And those things happen to us. And it's how you deal with how those things happen to you and how you work through it that are the
Kevin, you just froze. Well, folks, I don't know if I'm on the air or not, but I hope Kevin gets back to us. Well, it says we're still broadcasting. And so I can tell you some other jokes and see what's happening. Okay. We had a new teacher show up at a school. A former Marine Corps sergeant took a job as a school teacher. However, just before school year started, Kevin, you're back. I was starting to fill in the time with some jokes.
I need to hire you. Keep going.
Well, I started telling about this new teacher. Former Marine Corps sergeant took a new job as a school teacher. However, just before the school year started, he injured his back and was required to wear a plaster cast around the upper part of his body. Fortunately, the cast fit under his shirt and wasn't even noticeable. On the first day of class, he found himself assigned to the toughest students in the school. The most disruptive punks had heard that this new teacher was a former Marine, and they were a tad leery of him. They decided to see how tough he really was before trying any pranks. Walking confidently into the rowdy classroom, the new teacher opened a window wide and sat down at his desk. When a strong breeze made his tie flap, he took a stapler and stapled the tie to his chest. He had no trouble with discipline after that.
Oh, that is so funny. By the way, we're talking with Bill Williams, and apparently I lost. You didn't lose connection, but I did for a little bit.
Yeah, you froze, and I thought maybe I had startled you.
Yeah, no, you. I do have to tell you, you are a remarkable human being. We had we do a 15-minute meeting prior to. And when you came on, I just thoroughly enjoyed your sense of humor, and more important than anything else, your sense of purpose. And your purpose is to help people and make people laugh just a little bit.
That's what I enjoy doing.
And you've been doing it for 30 years. I expect you to do it for another 30 years, by the way.
I think that's doubtful, but I'll do it as long as I can.
Well, you never know. I got an email from a guy that was talking about voiceovers, and he said that one of the voiceovers for Disney's 96, and he's still doing voiceovers. So you never know. You've got 500 stories. That is well over a year, and hopefully we'll have some more people send you some really cool stories after this episode.
Plus all the thousands I've already used.
Exactly. We need to take a break real quick. And when we come back, I want to ask you about how many posts have you created over time? And also, you were a sales guy and you were a sales manager for a period of time. And if you are in real estate or choose to be in real estate or want to be in real estate and you're having trouble figuring out how to make it all work and to be successful, I have just the guy for you. So please listen to this.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And we're talking with Bill Williams, or he could be William Williams or something along those lines. But Bill Williams
I really am.
You are that guy.
I really am. William Williams.
Yes, indeed. You are William Williams, and I'm glad that you go by Bill because I see now in your book, the first book that you have out, which is called again,
20 Years of Internet Humor and Other Interesting Things, Volume 1.
And I'm willing to bet that if somebody wants to buy that from you, do you have a mechanism by which you can sign it and send it to them?
I have not set that up because most of the books are sold through Amazon and Books A Million and, Barnes and Noble. But if they wanted me to sign one, I could probably do that. All they'd have to do is email me and I could work something out.
Very good. And but Barnes and Noble and by the way, and this is just a thought that I wanted to add to everybody, if there is a local bookseller in your neighborhood that you go to from time to time and they're all struggling because of the big box stores and all of that, walk in there and say, do you have a book by Bill Williams? And they'll look it up and they'll find the title and they'll say, no, but we can order it. Oh, good. Why don't you order it and order 6 and put 5 on your shelf, and I guarantee you'll sell those, and then I'll buy one of them. What do you think about that, Bill?
I think that's an absolutely marvelous idea, but if you tell the bookstore Bill Williams, they'll get lost. It is listed as W.G. Williams in the title.
Oh, very good. So go into there with W.G. Williams in the title, and tell them to buy 10 books.
20 years of internet humor.
20 years of internet, which is actually almost 30 years now that you mention it.
Well, the problem is, let's face it, back in the 90s, we had some really crappy computers. And the first 10 years of computers never saved very much. So I didn't have the records of the first 10 years, which is why it's only 20 years in the title.
Well, and if you remember correctly, before they figured out how to set up an email address, and this goes back to the 90s, the email addresses were difficult. They weren't logical, and there were like numbers and letters that were in the email address, and so it was hard to until they figured out a little bit later how to make it easier. So email, it really wasn't even a thing, and the internet wasn't even a thing until like 2002, 3, 4, somewhere in there.
No, yeah. And, quite frankly, I was talking about sales folks. Back in the day when this started, if you were out on the road, you had to have a pocket full of quarters to go find a payphone to get back in touch with somebody when your beeper went off.
Do you remember the days when, because I had a beeper, and if a customer would call in to the operator, and they said, "This is really important, I got to talk to them right away," and they would do the guest number or the person's number, and then 911 after that. Did you guys do that as well?
We didn't have the 911, but our pagers would give the number that we were supposed to call. But then you had to find a payphone.
I remember my son, who is now 32, and when he was like 10, my cell phone would run out of power, and I said to him, "Son, we need to find a payphone." And he said, "Find a what?" And I said, "A payphone." He said, "What is that?" He didn't even. So I started looking around. There aren't any. There weren't any. They're all gone now, and so that's another thing that if you were born like 25, 26 years ago, you have no idea that there used to be banks of payphones that you could go and utilize. They were at 7-Eleven stores, and they were at restaurants, and they were virtually everywhere. Now they're all gone.
And you might have had to stand in line to get to one because everybody needed them.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Especially when you had to, your pager beeped, and you had to. By the way, here's another one. A pager used to be a way that company could communicate with you. Now, they couldn't talk to you, and you couldn't talk to them, but they could put a number in the pager that you were supposed to call, and then you had to go. Oh, there was no cell phones, so you had to have quarters in your pocket, or to go to a payphone so that you could call that number back, and then you had to put another quarter in the phone to call your dispatcher back to tell them that you got a hold of the guy and this is what they need. You remember those days? You remember those days vividly.
I remember those days very, very well. And when we did get a cell phone, it was the size of a brick and weighed about the same thing. Or it was in a bag that you had to carry over your shoulder. Okay. Remember
yes.
Bag phones? Okay.
Yep. And they were the airtime on those things were very expensive.
Yes.
And they were like 25 cents a minute or some silly thing like that. So, but in any event, we've progressed further. And so now you're doing a daily email to people of a humorous nature, something that'll make you think, something that will help you maybe perhaps live your life and the people around you a little bit better.
A little bit happier. Yes. If you find something in there you like, share it with people. Okay. It didn't cost you anything, so let other people share it too.
And because they're all positive and they all have got a great message, it's not like you're spamming somebody. You're saying, hey, I ran into this. This is awesome. Here, this is my gift to you today. And you can even add, like you were saying, you can add something like, hey, man, I'm thinking about you. Here's something that I got and I wanted to share with you. That would make somebody feel really good.
That would indeed. And we were talking about selling, and one of the first things about selling to be successful is to make people laugh. People love laughing, and people love people who make them laugh. And so if you want to be successful as a salesman, you want to make people laugh because you want the people to love you and like you.
Yes. Because and what did you say? I said 30 seconds. You said, no, it's more like 7. You have, you only have, and this is an old sales jargon thing. You only have the first time to make a first impression.
That's true. In a very short period of time at that.
Because these people are busy. And by the way, there was another sales guy that was there 15 minutes before. So they get these people all the time, and you have to separate and distinguish yourself from them in a very creative, positive way.
That's true. And one other thing, as long as we're talking about selling and all that sort of stuff, is that the best way to get on somebody's good side is to use their name. People love to hear their name. And when we came aboard, I said, hi, Kevin, how you doing? Because, hey, it's rather than, hello there, people love to hear their name. So use their name often. Hey, what harm can it do?
And the other thing that it does is it gives them the understanding that you're somebody who is serious because you took the time to learn their name, and then you're going to use it rather than, hey, chef. I was in the restaurant business. Hey, chef, rather than if you were to say Chef Don or Chef Bill or whatever it was, because credibility only goes the first time. And if you lose that the first time, then getting it back is very, very hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And smile. You seem like, by the way, I got to ask you, have you ever done Santa Claus?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew that you'd done Santa Claus so what's that? I've never done that. I would love to do it. What's that experience like?
It's great. It really is. I was working at a TV station, and hey, they needed a Santa Claus, and had the beard, but needed a little enhancement, and became Santa Claus a couple times.
Did you ever go do it in a shopping center or anything like that?
I never did. I thought it might be nice, but I never really had the opportunity and didn't pursue it in that regard.
Yeah, well, and my son pulled Santa Claus's beard. Fortunately, it was a real beard, so and it shocked my son. He was like, "Dang, that thing was real," and so. But you have. Tell me a little bit more about Bill. Why? Because Bill has spent his life serving others. Where did that come from?
My dad was a career man in the Air Force. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved all over the country as a kid. I went to 14 schools before I got out of high school.
What? 14? Yeah. So you spent like half a year in a high school, and then you would spend the other half of a year in a high school?
I went to three high schools in my sophomore year.
You didn't even get a chance to learn anybody's name.
Well, one of those 3 high schools, I was only there for a day and a half. Okay. Because I transferred in, and I'd been taking Latin. I was in 2nd or 3rd year Latin. And he said, well, we don't have Latin at this school, so we'll put you in Spanish. And it was a small school, and I was in plain geometry, And they said, well, we didn't have many people in plane geometry, so we're all the way through the book, and now we're in solid geometry, so you'll just have to catch up. And well, that and suddenly taking second year Spanish with no first year Spanish, I thought maybe I could find another school I could transfer to, and I did.
And they had Latin?
Yes, they did.
Isn't it amazing how our education system sometimes serves us well and sometimes doesn't at all?
Yes.
It's amazing. And these are small schools. By the way, we're talking with Bill Williams, and he's written a brand new book, which again is called
20 Years of Internet Humor and Some Other Interesting Things, Volume 1. I got to tell that out.
Exactly. Well, it's going to be like an encyclopedia. Okay. An encyclopedia used to be a book that would be in your school, and they would have a whole bunch of them, like A and B and C and stuff. And then you would go look things up. But now those are gone.
Predecessor of Google.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoyed them more because when Google, you're looking for specific things, so you don't run into things while turning the pages that might interest you. I always thought that was amazing.
I love to read through the encyclopedia because there's always something new on every page.
Something that you've never seen before, never experienced, but now want to learn more about.
Exactly right.
And so that was really cool. Bill Williams is our guest, and we need to take a quick break for our halftime show, which is only 1 minute and 10 seconds. So you don't need to worry. We'll be right back with Bill. And I'm going to ask him because I was supposed to ask him and I didn't ask him. So now I'll ask him, how many emails do you think you've put out in 20 years? We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. We have Bill Williams with us. He is an author. He is the guy. If you probably in your lifetime in the last 20 years, you've probably had a joke or a positive saying or something forwarded to you or shared with you is what they call it now, I think. And you may not have recognized where it came from originally, but I'm willing to bet that there have been some that have come from Bill, because Bill has been doing this a while, and I did the math in my head on how many that you would have done. Is somewhere in around 7,000 over that time, do you think?
That sounds about right, because I did the math on my handy-dandy phone while we were in the break, and for 25 years, and I've been doing it longer than that, 5 days a week, it comes out to 6,500.
Yep. So
I am aware that my files in the computer have over 4,000 in them.
So I got to ask you, have you ever had to, and I already know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Have you ever had to resort to doing the same one? Or is there a favorite one that you do on special events like people's birthdays or your birthday or like Memorial Day? I can see that particular one that you read to us earlier for Memorial Day, I can see you doing that every Memorial Day, and for it to become a bit of a thing and a tradition.
I haven't done it every Memorial Day, but I did first send that one out on May 29th of 2006. Okay. And I have used it, maybe once every 5 years, and it just comes around again. And yes, I have some that I have used over and over again because they're popular. Okay. And let's face it, if you haven't been reading my emails for 5 years, anything I send out that is a repeat, you probably haven't seen anyway. So it's not like they're coming out every week.
Well, it's like this, the podcast. It's like we put it out and we leave it up, and because somebody's going to run across this episode in a week, in a year, in a month, we don't know when, but they're going to be thinking about, I should maybe I'd love to get some positive stuff coming into my email on like a daily basis, kind of like, it's not an affirmation, but it's just something to make me smile, something to make me think. Maybe I'll do something like that. And so if there's somebody in our audience now or in the future that is having that thought right now, how do they get hooked up with the email?
All they have to do is go to my website, which is www.internet-humor.com. Need to have that little dash between internet and humor. And tells about the thought for the day. It tells about the book, and there's some place where you can just click the button and sign up for it. Like I say, it doesn't cost anything.
And you're not going to get any spam. You're not going to get any commercials. You're not going to get any of that. At least I don't think so.
No, I don't have time for that.
Well, I think you probably have the reach. Now, have you ever looked into, I know that there are services that you can get or whatever. Have you ever looked into how many emails are actually opening? Like, what is it? MailChimp and stuff like that. How many of your emails are being opened and looked at over time? Or does that really even come into the question? Because actually, at the end of the day, none of that matters.
Actually, yes, I do use a service to send them out, MailChimp specifically. And they do give me great statistics. And when I first got my report in, I was having 50 to 60 people, or 50 to 60% of the people open the emails every day. And I was crushed. I thought only 50 or 60%. I mean, what's happening? That's that. And I was talking to some other people who specialize in emails, and they said, what kind of returns do you get? And I said, only 50, 60%. And they said, oh my God, if you got 15 to 20%, that would be normal. That's
right. That's exactly right. And then some of the ones that you got 20% of were on like for 5 seconds, and they didn't have a chance to read whatever you put. Like a lot of people do newsletters and stuff, and they'll put those out, and they'll get a click rate of anywhere from 5 to 10%, and they're happy with 50%. That's a really, you should be, young man, you should be really proud of yourself.
I'm feeling that way now that I've learned what the other people are getting.
Well, and the way you should look at it is, okay, I'm getting 60%. It's that 40%'s loss that are not reading this.
But one of the things that I do have the opportunity to do is go in and see who is opening these things.
Good.
So when I find that some people aren't opening them, they didn't open it today, but they opened it yesterday. And other people opened it today. So the readership is higher than the 50 to 7, but it's just that the total number of people on any given day is 50 to 60%.
I'm willing to bet that your MailChimp list of emails is rather large at this point.
It is large, but it's not nearly as large as, I would like to have it. And because people come and go, Okay. I have people on the list that have literally been there since the beginning. And I have other people that come in and they're there for, a week or two and okay, I'm done. And that's it. So it changes.
Well, and there are other folks that if they've been there 30 years, it's like, where's Joe? He was open it every day. Oh, I'm sorry. He died because that happens too.
I had that happen just last week. Okay. No, seriously. A great friend and another writer that I have worked with for over 50 years. I got an email from his wife saying, Bert died this morning.
Oh.
It upset me, but hey, that's life, and it happens. And so,
what's really cool about that is that she thought of you because of your relationship with him on the day he died and thought it was important enough to reach out to you. That is a real compliment to the man that you are.
And, I let her know that I really appreciated her letting me know.
Yeah, and you and I have been through the wars a little bit, and we're a little longer in the tooth. And I don't know about your world, but in my world, I don't know what it is, but these people that are contemporaries of mine, they keep on dying. What the hell is up with that?
Well, it's their turn, and it might be our turn tomorrow.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. I am absolutely convinced, Bill, that if you have passion and you have a purpose and you have a reason to continue, that in and of it by itself is going to give you the energy and the vibration and for you to continue doing what you're doing, because it is such a needed thing and it's so important.
It may be needed, but it's also something that I enjoy. And,
That's
I don't
it.
know what I'd do if I didn't do this, because, hey, I get a kick out of it. Okay. My wife says, don't bother with that stuff. I said, I can't imagine not bothering with that, because what else would I do? I'm 81. Okay.
And how long have you guys been married?
52 years.
That's a second book, by the way. How to be married for 52 years and still laughing.
Well, I have another book in the works that is based upon my 20 years in Washington, D.C., and I'm calling it Tales from the Swamp.
I love that.
And it too will be humorous, but it wasn't intended to be that way. But as I started reading through the stories, I thought, these are damn funny.
and the things that people do, and in hindsight, they look even sillier in hindsight than they did at the time.
You see all the different ways that the government screwed up, and people. Well, I'll tell you, for example, I was a filmmaker, okay, and I was working for one of the government agencies, and they sent me to Downingtown, Pennsylvania, to do a scientific film on this piece of equipment that they had just contracted for, and it didn't work. And they wanted to see slow motion stuff to find out what the problem was. And so I went up, had a full film crew. We got it done, came back, and as soon as I hit the office, somebody was knocking on the door saying, we want to see the film. I said, it hasn't even been processed yet. I said, well, as soon as it is, give me a call. We want to see it. And so, okay, fine. It processed. The guy came in, looked at it, said, this is terrible. I said, what do you mean it's terrible? He said, it doesn't work. I said, that's what it was all about, is to figure out why it didn't work. He said, no, you don't understand. We're going to use this as a film to show what a great piece of equipment this is.
Oh, no.
The next week, they sent me back to exactly the same place to shoot a film on exactly the same piece of equipment. But this time, behind the scenes, I had people turning the gears and everything to make it look like it was working.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is our government at work. I got to tell you, Bill, I'm considering writing a book about my marriage.
You are. Will your
Yeah.
wife approve?
Well, no. She left 15 years ago. It would be like 24 years of marriage, the best 6 months of my life. I don't know if that would get any readership, but it sure would piss her off. So
And make you feel better.
well, that's one of the things in my life, because I'm just like you. If I didn't have this, I don't know what I'd do with myself. I would be, like I told you earlier, I'm in a 55 plus community, and most of the people I've never met, because they just stay in their house and they just sit there and they watch TV, because in their world, it's like, oh, damn, I woke up today again. Maybe I won't wake up tomorrow, kind of thing. And I want people to recognize that you can live with passion and with excitement, and to do something that makes you really happy. And it doesn't matter what it is, but if you need to find that, so that you can live a happy, a loving, caring, careful, carefree life, and to be kind to people. I know you agree with that sentiment, don't you?
Absolutely, 100%.
And when you are even at 81 years young and you're still doing what you're doing, there's going to come a time in many years from now when they're going to say, the creator of all of these humorous thoughts and jokes has met his great reward, and you're going to have a great time over there, by the way. But they're going to say, what a difference he made. And if we can create the legacy for ourselves that can be viewed by humanity as something cool, then I can't think of anything better than that. Can you?
I totally agree with you, Kevin. Absolutely. Wise words.
And we need to take our last break. It's only 30 seconds, so just hang tight, everybody. Bill Williams is with us, and go to his website, which is called
internethumor.com, internet-humor.com.
And the name of the book?
20 Years of Internet Humor and Some Other Interesting Things.
Yes.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. And I would have that. Normally I have that up here, but since I lost power, I want to make sure that I have enough internet juice to get us through. So that's why I didn't read that. But we're going to take this quick break, and Bill Williams and I will be right back. I got to tell you, Bill, I am thoroughly enjoying talking to you. You are, and I know you're going to say, oh, no, I'm just you are a rare human being. And I applaud everything that you do, and I hope your legacy lives on forever. And
Thank you. There's only one of me.
That's it. That's all there is. And when we come back, I got a funny story for you.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Bill Williams is our guest. Doesn't that sound like the 90s? That one, I played that one just specially for you.
I do remember the 90s and the 50s and the 60s.
And I wanted to tell you, well, first of all, let me tell you this, is that because of the work that you're doing, and by and large the work that I'm doing, it is timeless. It will be here. Your sayings are going to be circulated around the world for a very long time, because they are very cool, and they're going to be shared and reshared and reshared after that. Whereas other famous people like Bob Hope, I asked one of my sons, I said, do you remember who Bob Hope was? Now, for those of you that are under 45, Bob Hope was the premier comic entertainer of his era. And he did stuff overseas with the soldiers and all of that. People don't remember him today because he's not current. He's not out there. He's not but your work is going to be out there regardless. Your book is going to be out there forever. It's going to be a coffee table addition to people's houses for a very long time. And that's something to really be proud of.
And I am, frankly, I am very proud of what I've done.
As well, you should be.
Haven't made a lot of money at it, but hopefully with the book, that'll change, because in 30 years, I've never made a dime off it.
You know, the interesting thing about that is the energy that you get from it is more important than any financial reward that you can achieve because of it, because you're still doing it because you love to do it. And that is in of itself its own reward, don't you think?
I totally agree with that. Yes.
And be honest with you, I've never made a dime from this show either. But I do it because I love talking to people, and I love highlighting stories like yours, which I'm really hopeful that there is a 25 or 30-year-old guy that says, or gal, who says, you know, I love what he's doing. I want to augment what he's doing and to do more of that. So more of that is out there. And so they can come on a radio show in 60 years and say, you know, when I was 25, I heard this guy on the TV, on the radio, and on the internet and I've been doing this ever since. And what a fine legacy that would be.
I'm pleased with my life.
As well, you should be. And I want to thank you for coming here and talking with me. It's been great. We've got about 8 minutes left. Do you have another short story that you can read that you have right at your fingertips?
Yes, I'm sure I can come up with one.
Since you've got like 10 billion.
Yeah. A golfer was getting ready to tee off on the first hole when a second golfer approached and asked him if he could join him. The first said that he usually played alone, but yeah, he agreed to the twosome. They were even after the first holes when the newcomer said, "We're about evenly matched, so how about playing for $5 a hole?"
Uh-oh.
The first guy said, "Well, I'm not much for betting," but he agreed to terms. The second guy won the remaining 16 holes with ease. As they were walking off number 18, the second guy was busy counting his $80. He confessed that he was the pro at a neighboring course and liked to pick on suckers. The first fellow revealed that he was the parish priest. The pro was flustered and apologetic, offering to return the money. The priest said, "No, you won fair and square. I was foolish to bet with you. You keep your winnings." The pro said, Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" The priest said, "Well, you could come to Mass on Sunday and make a donation. And if you bring your mother and father, I'll be glad to marry them."
That is funny right there. I'm good. Do you mind if I use that in the future?
Hey, I can't stop you. It's not copyrighted.
Well, and I will give you, and this is from Bill Williams, and I will give you and put out your email and stuff so that more people need to sign up to do this with you and to get these every day. They're really cool. And even when you don't have time and you're just scrolling your emails, and you may get 1 billion emails, we all do these days, and you see Bill's name come across, take the time, because it'll make you smile. And there isn't enough smiling going on in our world today. And we all need to smile and then think a positive thought about yourself and about your family and how that day is going to go. And that's a great way to begin each day, I think. And Bill, I think you agree with me on that.
I do. That's why I put it out. You know, I'd like for people to wake up with a smile and hopefully brighten the rest of their day. There's enough out there to really bring you down. So You need
Yep.
all the help you can get.
And you're going to have to come back because you worked for FEMA for a period of time, and we haven't even touched any of that stuff. You've got a long and varied career that I would love to talk to you about. And so will you come back?
I'd be glad to. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, you are an amazing man, and I want to give you the opportunity here. So we've got just a couple of minutes left, to the opportunity to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know.
Well, all I'd like them to know is that, it doesn't cost anything to laugh and get something to laugh about. And we've already talked about my thought for the day, but hey, we talked about people liking to laugh. And one of the best ways to make friends is to tell somebody a joke. Introduce yourself, use their name, say something funny. Hey, if you can bring a laugh out of somebody, you've made their day.
I love talking to men and women who, in our culture, they call them elderly. I call us seasoned, because we've had enough life experience to be able to know what matters and what doesn't matter, and the things that we talk about matter.
I have enough material for an entire volume on aging and senior citizens, and they are marvelous.
I would love, because until I are one, I had no idea what they had to go through, and now I get it. And this, our bodies are getting older, but you know what? I still feel like I'm 18 in some manner or form.
Yeah, the head doesn't go along with the rest of us. It thinks things that aren't real.
And that's why I continue to do stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And then I risk hurting myself because the body says, no, you can't do that anymore. It's like, but my mind said, yes, you can. Go for it. And your body says, see, that's what happens. So then you have to go talk to a doctor. So in any event, Bill Williamson has been our guest. And Bill, if you want to find out more about you, get the book, how do they do all that?
Well, the book is available on Barnes & Noble. It's available through Books A Million. It's available on Amazon and Goodreads and just about any place books are sold. 20 years of internet humor. And if you're trying to write it out, use 20, don't spell 20 out, because that'll screw it up. And my thought for the day, email me at www.internet-humor.com. It needs the dash between internet and humor. I screwed up when I set up that website. I shouldn't have done that, but it seemed right at the time. And it doesn't cost anything. Just type in your name and your email address, and it'll start coming to you the next day.
And that is just amazing. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I wish you a long and healthy, and your wife as well, 52 years. I don't know how that happens. You're going to have to write an episode about, that would be the third episode. Write the one about the older people, and then write the one about being married for 50 years. The things that you learn during that time.
I have a bunch of articles on stories on marriage too. That's another issue, another volume. That's
volume 3. So, I really appreciate you being here, young man. Thank you so much. And Kevin, with that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have a great day, and I thoroughly appreciate the invitation.
And I thank you for showing up. That is a bigger deal to me, because I get some people that go, was I supposed to do that? Anyway, so thank you, sir. It's been such a pleasure. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin